Welcome back to another episode of Collector's Quest. I'm Tyler here with Johnny. Johnny, what's going on?
Nothing. I'm over here trying to make up like a clever name for a scale that rates both how popular an item is and how condition sensitive it is. So my hypothesis is the more popular a game is, the more condition sensitive it becomes. So, you know, if a game, say Mortal Kombat, were to come up for some reason, like sure, you could get a copy for $50, but if you want a really nice Mortal Kombat with everything, suddenly it becomes $200.
You're talking about the SNES version, which you shouldn't buy, but okay, I'm with you.
I'm just saying, in general, a scale like that kind of rates it like that, and I'm thinking of calling it the mainstream attraction scale.
Ooh. Very fancy. So hold on, let me paint a picture of this scale in our listeners' minds. On the y-axis, we've got how much the condition of the game matters, and on the x-axis, we have how popular the game is, and then it's just a one-to-one relationship going up. So
yep.
What? This isn't some like magic thing that we've discovered. We just decided, yeah, when a game's more popular, people want them in nicer shape.
Well, but that's not true of all games. It's just like there is a factor where the price actually increases more exponentially. Like you could say, oh, a mint game is, are always more expensive. But if the game is also popular, then that the scaling raises exponentially.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm with you there because you look at the sealed market where maybe, perhaps, once a copy of Tecmo Bowl sold for $144,000, which is just something that could not happen to certain other games.
Yeah, so that's why I like the mainstream attraction scale.
All right, I want to see some real data analysis on this. So here's the problem. To actually crunch data and to prove your hypothesis here, you're going to need some kind of objective metric for the actual condition of a game. So you would have to do this on something like graded CIB copies. Oh. And there's just not enough games to even form data points here.
You've made a mistake already, Tyler.
Did I?
Yeah, let me point it out to you. We are in the 2020s, and facts and truth don't matter. I've already said the name of the thing. I've already said it's true. Someone has to disprove me now. It's up to them. Ball's in their court. This thing exists and it's true. And if you are fucking stupid if you don't believe me.
All right. That is a pretty good counterpoint. I hadn't considered that.
Yeah. You haven't considered that the world is crazy now. And we can just say whatever we want.
I feel like the science still matters. Like if you're the one proposing something, you kind of have to do the science. It's just everyone else can ignore your science.
I gotta point out a problem with what you just said.
Oh,
you said the word science, and that isn't like people aren't into science.
Yeah, science is overrated. What has science ever done for us?
Have you ever asked people how they feel? Because I feel like this is true. And I think that's what matters.
Did research scientists do something? That's great. I did my own research.
Yeah.
I'm something of a research scientist myself. Have you heard of Facebook?
Yeah. Have you read a YouTube video? Well, let me tell you.
So, Johnny, what else is going on? I appreciate your new economic theory here.
Yeah. Tyler, it's been a hell of a day. I've been up for a long time already, it feels like, and we're going late. And man, it's a day. Hey, Super Bowl's tomorrow, Tyler. That's exciting. Hey, who do you got in the Super Bowl, and who are you watching with tomorrow? And what's your favorite Super Bowl snack? Go.
Whichever the Taylor Swift team is, definitely.
Ooh.
Is that an unpopular opinion? I thought she's like the most popular celebrity on planet Earth.
There might be a group of individuals who have declared war on Taylor Swift. Yeah, Taylor Swift, which is the funniest thing I've ever heard of, but who gives a shit about Taylor Swift to this degree? But, if you say you're rooting for the Taylor Swift team, I think you might. I think that speaks to political allegiance, and we don't talk politics on this show.
Johnny,
so you now can't talk about Taylor Swift.
No idea what the fuck is going on. Tim, this is airing a week after the Super Bowl, so maybe I'll understand by then. But Johnny, I had a busy week. I was really late putting up the episode, and I didn't put up the intro music. And our friend 8-Bit Music, he commented like an hour after I put the episode up or something. He's like, no intro music, because he's the one who made our intro music, our amazing intro music. We are not getting rid of the intro music. I just, I was burnt out. I forgot to put it in. I realized it right away, and I'm like, I'm not re-uploading this episode. That is 8-Bit Music, Johnny, who has rebranded as Lucio Barbarino, which I have to imagine is his real name. Which is much, much better than 8-Bit Music, because every time you say 8-Bit, you have to say ape, A-P-E, like the monkey, because everyone, of course, hears 8-Bit. And if your name was 8-Bit Music, you can't search for it.
Or it sounds like you have a lisp. 8-Bit Music. Yep.
Well, I'm not going to go as far as to completely disparage
I'm not.
friend's name.
I'm just saying,
Johnny.
like you. I'm just saying, it sounds a little lispy.
It's ridiculous. Go buy the Blue Evenings digital album, $10 on Bandcamp right now.
Yeah, 100%. You should do that, and I'm very thankful that we have music provided for us. But I'm just saying, if I'm offering, look, we're critical people over here, Tyler. No one's spared.
We're probably gonna get a lot of controversy, Johnny, from shilling a music album, The Blue Evenings by Lucio Barbarino, while we are also charging people cash money on Patreon to listen to this podcast. So they are both paying us and they have to sit through our ads.
We're some real Taylor Swifts over here, just fucking things up.
Oh, that could have been. That's a good controversy thing too. This is a real controversial start to our show, and this has been going on for 10 minutes, which is
you found it. Thank God you found it. Fuck. I thought we weren't going to get there, Tyler. Huh.
I didn't even realize I'd completely
Yes, I've
came into
been
it
talking
naturally.
about controversies, Tyler. I'm like, it was somewhat of a quarterback controversy. Whew.
All right, we got there.
All right. Thank goodness. Yeah.
So it's gonna be we're gonna be like another episode where all we talk about is Night Trap, San Andreas, Bully, the guy game.
Yes. Uh-huh. Yes.
That's it.
There's okay, so no. No, but yes. No. So there are a bunch of controversial games, and we love to bring them up, right? So, but we talked about there's been a lot of controversy, some stupid, some undeserved, some that just has gone away and just doesn't matter anymore. That's like most of it, really. But we wanted to talk about some other controversial games. So we aren't talking about Custer's Revenge. We're not talking about Night Trap. We're not talking about Hot Coffee in San Andreas. We're not talking about Rapeplay or Bully or Chiller or Conquer or South Park or The Guy Game or Modern Warfare 2 or Rule of Rose or Oblivion and the goddamn horse armor. All that we're not talking about. We're also, even though there's like less popular stuff, we did a whole episode on some porn games from early Japan that we aren't touching on because, man, if we ever mention those again, that'll be 2 mentions and the FBI will definitely be at our doors. So we're not doing those either.
So, Johnny, are we starting at the beginning?
We are. We have... This game really grabbed me, you might say. Right by the chest and pulled me in with its history. And I want you to tell us about Gotcha. Not the famed NES game,
Get that 5-screw variant of Gotcha.
Yeah, I know you think it's just a paintball game, but it's also based on a movie, which sounds crazy, but it is a movie game. Insane. But we're not talking about that Gotcha. I'm talking about Gotcha, an arcade cabinet from 1973. Did you know that this is probably the 20th arcade cabinet ever made, Tyler?
I don't know what that's what you're starting with.
Yeah, I figure I would go with the most dull thing about it first.
All right, so Johnny, Gotcha, 1973. This is Atari's 4th commercial arcade video game, designed by Alan Alcorn. I don't know if you're allowed to call him Al. He goes by Alan, it seems like. But the designer
you could call
of
him anything.
Pong
you could probably call him Al.
And you brought this up. This is a very stupid game. And I saw it. I'm like, Johnny, no one's going to know what this is.
You feel like a real boob for talking about it.
No one's going to be able to relate to it. And then I realized I know what this game is. Why do I know what this game is? And because this game has so many weird, like, technical firsts that it, like, when I, like, go and do research, I'm like, oh, let me find out what Wikipedia is wrong about when I'm, like, researching video game genre stuff. This game pops up a couple times. Because it's probably the first commercial maze game. So you think a maze game, you think like Pac-Man. This is a maze chase game where it's 2 players. One is a dot, one is a cross, and it's a game of tag around a maze, basically. And the maze is constantly changing over time. This is 1973. We're talking like hardware programming, really weird stuff. It's really hard to describe how this game even looks because it looks like a technical glitch almost, and they're just like, oh yeah, that's perfect. Ship that. You could totally understand what you're seeing on the screen here.
Beautiful.
But the reason this is also first maze game. All right,
was this game a bust?
That is our first. They're going to go over 3 firsts. The second first, Johnny. This might be the first controversial video game of all time. And I'm going to call it mildly controversial because it wasn't a huge seller and there probably wasn't a lot of controversy, but there is evidence that this was controversial. Johnny, will you tell us the main draw to the game Gotcha, a maze tag game that everyone thinks is super boring and is falling asleep right now?
This game has boob controllers.
The game has boob controllers.
They're just, and these, like, they are just meant, they're just like pink, squishy, like half.
They're not squishy,
spheres.
they're hard plastic.
Are they hard plastic? I thought they were squishy.
Plastic.
I thought they were squishy. No? Okay. Anyways, okay, then they're just hard plastic half spheres, okay, that sit on the board, and you to touch them. And that's how you control the game, Tyler. And the advertisement is a man like holding or grappling with a lady. It looks playful, but he's got her from behind, and she's in like a chesty outfit. Yeah, this game, it was like, oh no, these boys might think they're touching boobs. Change it. My favorite part about the change is this like leads us into joysticks, which is just like, look, you can't touch boobs. All you boys need to be touching penises. Just like penis and phallic-shaped objects only, okay? Just pretend that that's better.
I do kind of love it, because there are 2 theories on why this game originally had boob controllers. And one theory is because it was Atari, everyone was smoking dope out of their mind, and they're just... Literally, they're coming off the success of Pong. They're like, we could do anything, boob controllers. And then the other theory is that video game controllers are so phallic, you think of a joystick, and they're like, well, what's the opposite? Let's have boob controllers. To be clear, these are basically joysticks just with a very round, boob-sized.
It's just a boob. It's just a boob joystick.
It's just a boob joystick.
Instead of being a penis, it's a boob. It's boob shaped.
So you know what? I think it was Daddy Mulch who wanted us to go over the best weird controllers of all time, like collectible things, and here it is. Because not only does this have a bunch of things going for it, Johnny, the boob controllers are super rare because they were replaced by joysticks in later production of the game.
Yeah. And that meant any repairs that were done, those got taken out and joysticks got put in.
This game, so, I mean, you might have seen, if you don't know, like, what old arcade games look like some of these games, you think of Computer Space, has this huge, beautiful, flowy cabinet. It looks like it belongs on the set of Star Trek. And then Pong is like a TV sitting in a brown box. It's like the ugliest thing in the world. And then, but Pong has the yellow backsplash, which is at least iconic. It's got the bezel around the monitor. This is literally just a white box. It is the ugliest thing ever. You have the boob controllers, and you're like, what is that in your arcade collection? That is super cool. Tell me about that. You take away the boob controllers, it literally looks like something you would put on the curb. Like, no one could possibly want this object. It is a plain white box from the 70s with a TV in it.
And the boobs are pink. Just so we know. So they made them, part of it was that they were like considered fleshy color. But also, like, it's not just white. It has this shape to it that screams like what people in the 70s imagined what the future would look like design to it. It's got some of that like bad like futurism in it that's very plain and just like nondescript.
I think you're making it sound too interesting, to be honest.
Yeah, I probably am. But the point is, it's actually not interesting. It's just incredibly boring. It's incredibly boring. Except for those pink boob controllers.
So I'm going to hit you up with a fact I found out that I didn't tell you about, Johnny. Johnny, there were also black boob controllers.
Oh my God. Look at the look. We are overcoming racial barriers with this game and they buried it? Come on now.
I only know that because I was on Arcade Museum trying to figure out what these things even sell for. And someone had a single black boob controller and was asking for $200 for it. Like, it was like 5 years ago or something. But looking back, I looked back, I think 5 or 6 years, and there were at least 2 for sale. And I think one other person mentioned having one. It seems like a game that would come up every few years, maybe. And they were all the joystick versions, the ones that I did see come up. So it seems like a very rare game. I think there is an actual production number they have on Wikipedia that says 6,000. And we're talking early 70s arcade games, like those are gone. So whatever comes up like once every 5 years is what we got. The last time I saw a price was for an apparently nice one. This was mentioned in 2018 and it was over $1,500. And so after COVID and arcade stuff has gone up a little bit after that. So I don't know. I would expect to pay probably over $2,000 for one of these.
I would expect that. And you're going to pay more if you're getting one with actual boobs in it. You can, if you are lucky enough to find any version, there are replacement boob style controllers that you can buy. So those do crop up.
Thank God, Johnny.
Really? No, restore it back to its beautiful booby nature. Lord knows we play enough arcade games with a joystick that it would be nice to have some boob-centric controllers. You know what I'm saying?
All right, yeah, I agree. Johnny, there's a third first I'm going to hit you with.
Oh, no.
This is probably the first color arcade game for some reason, this is also probably the first color arcade game. In 1974, the year after the initial release, there was a production run of probably 20 to 100 cabinets that had a color PCB in it. And this is a maze game with walls. All it did was it like changed the walls to like 3 different colors. It was like red, green, and blue probably. I mean, it was. I've seen a picture. Ed Fries, the Microsoft vice president of like game sales, or what was, I don't remember what he was. He's the one who kind of rediscovered and repaired this. He bought like multiple of these super rare PCBs and restored them and proved that this was basically the first color arcade game. And then he like did the research to find out like when they were sold and how many were made. Like Ed Fries is a super cool guy. He was like a video game programmer that became a Microsoft executive.
Yeah, vice president of game publishing at Microsoft during Xbox era.
Yeah, and he's like a super technical guy. He's the guy who programmed Halo on Atari 2600 as well. And he's like out here rediscovering arcade history and documenting it, like documenting everything about it. If you are interested in what I'm talking, I realize like most people are like, all right, whatever, it's the first color arcade game. But he has documented every step of like sourcing and repairing this PCB. He said when he first got it on Facebook, like Boomer Facebook where all the old people are, that like, I think I got the first color arcade game ever. It's this super rare PCB. And Nolan Bushnell responded to him and he's like, no, Gotcha just had color overlays over the monitor. That wasn't really a color game. And then he like fucking proved Nolan Bushnell wrong. The guy who sold the game.
Gotcha, Nolan Bushnell.
Oh, he gotcha. I love it. I love that story. That's 3 historical firsts, Johnny. I thought I wasn't going to love this game. I love this game. Go spend $2,000 on a copy of Gotcha. And by copy, I mean like an actual arcade cabinet from the 70s.
Yeah. This is a wonderful little anecdote of history. I'm glad we got to talk about it and we didn't lose it to history as well. So, yeah, hooray. Hooray for talking about it. Now let's talk about something a lot less fun than boobs, shall we, Tyler?
Okay.
Okay, let's I feel like newscasters were like, and boobs are great. Now a family died in a fire.
I think our We've got two more boob games we're going to come back to. So how about we talk about Super Monaco GP, Johnny, because that'll be the break that we get.
Oh, you want Super Monaco? Okay. So you guys have all heard of Super Monaco. It's on like every system, mainly known for, I think, being on the Genesis. And this came out in 1989.
Hold the phone. What? All right, let me speak to your Gen X. I don't understand because you associate this more with the Genesis than an arcade game?
Yes.
All right. I mean, I realize arcades can be super regional, so
yeah.
All right, fine.
I mean, yeah, like also an arcade game, but it's like on the Sega Master System, it's on the Genesis, it's on the Game Gear, it's on like the Amiga. It was a game that came out like on like every console you could put it on at the time.
It's
like everywhere.
It's part of a series that's exclusively in arcades. So you think of Monaco GP and you think of arcade games.
Yeah, I mean, I think about the Genesis. Sorry, that's where I played it. So I don't know. Yeah,
all right.
Maybe other people. I think about it there. You guys, you can think about it in the arcade. Maybe more of our audience does. You let us know where you think of it. Anyways, this game is not very expensive, Tyler. It's like a $10 to $20 game on the Genesis. Oh, a little more on the Game Gear. You can go buy it on a microcomputer if you want. This game is not a big deal to get. It's not very collectible. You know, there's a lot of them, but we don't need to get into the like weird Genesis variants for part 2 and how hard that is to find on the player's choice or the whatever it's called, greatest hits. Their greatest hits versions, which I can't remember the name of. The thing that's actually interesting about this, Tyler, and why I wanted to talk about it, is because Philip Morris got into a lawsuit with Sega. Now, you would think that because, like, why would Sega come and sue, or why would Philip Morris sue Sega in this instance? You would think maybe because, like, they didn't, like, use all the advertising that was in the game or something. No, Philip Morris sued Sega over this because Sega showed ads that looked like Marlboro ads in the game. So there was some, pixely art of something that was vaguely recognizable as a Marlboro ad. And this to me is hilarious because this is like hot on the heels of this becomes the era of like Joe Camel and like just directly selling cigarettes to kids and a whole lawsuit about that. And Philip Morris, like, look, this is not this, like, they just didn't want their brand associated probably with video games for some reason. I don't know why. Like,
they're they're a cigarette. They're the worst thing. It's literally the worst thing. They want to be associated with everything. Everything they are associated with is worse.
I know. Look, and they want to sell cigarettes to kids. They've been selling cigarettes to kids forever at that point. They were losing kids. That's why Joe, like, Camel cigarettes, like, made up an animated character, and that's why it became a lawsuit. Like, the idea that they were like, whoa, you guys knock it off. You could hurt our brand image. It's just like, Philip Morris? Really? I thought that was hilarious. It's just like, it's a real man bites dog story to me.
So, Johnny, let me clarify this. Well, first of all, the ads, they were for Marl Bobo. Like, they look like Marlboro's logo, but it's Marl Bobo. And there are a bunch of these parody ads. Like, which they should be like, wow, it makes kids think of Marlboro. This is great. Like you're saying, it's insane that they removed it. This is only in the arcade version of the game. Yes. And I love that we're talking about arcade ROM variants because, man, when do we get to talk about arcade ROM variants on Collector's Quest?
Not very often.
But you brought this up, and I immediately drew a parallel to another thing that I love, and I realize almost the same exact thing happened in a game that probably every single person listening to this podcast has played, Mario Kart 64, and not just the Marlboro part. So in Super Monaco GP, there's a bunch of these stupid fake parody ads. They've got one for Marlboro, they've got one for Mobile One, like the gas company. They got one for Pirelli, the tire company, with like the red letters on the white logo.
Yep. And
all of those companies are also parodied in the Japanese version of Mario Kart 64. There is a Marlboro ad in Mario Kart 64. It says Mario Bo or something like that. And there's a Mobile One sign in that version that says Yoshi, which is fantastic. That's the funniest one, I think. To have Yoshi, it's like literally the Mobile One, like their colors and logo, but it says Yoshi. Excellent. Just excellent.
This is an aside, but here's another thing I love about this, because there's a gas station out here called Sinclair that uses a dinosaur in its advertisement. And I love that Yoshi is like on like a crude, basically like something that comes from crude oil, because I love the idea that they're using a dinosaur to advertise fossils, like fossil fuel. I think that that's funny. I think there's comedy there. I don't think they did that on purpose, but I do love it. And they chose Yoshi again, a dinosaur. Wonderful.
Okay, great.
You don't think that's funny? Like
no, I think my comparison is way cooler than you're bringing up a gas station with a dinosaur logo.
Also Yoshi. They did it with Yoshi. Yoshi is a dinosaur. They did it here too. Like putting dinosaurs on gas is hilarious to me. It's very funny.
I guess. I see. As a kid, I saw some gas station with a dinosaur. Like I didn't make the connection. I guess it would be like a negative connection now because you don't want to be associated with fossil fuels. But I didn't like understand that they're referencing fossil fuels as a kid.
Yeah. Anyways, it's hilarious that when it came to N64, though, they did not try to stop that at all. I mean, also probably the laws were different in Japan, and they probably didn't have a leg to stand on. Plus, like, I don't think they wanted to be cigarette companies do not want to be disruptive in the Japanese market at all. They want to just keep selling those things because that's like, the US at that time was going through a lot of anti-cigarette ads, and Japan was not in that era yet.
So this might just be that these are like the biggest companies that would appear around real racetracks at the time, but it just feels like someone at Nintendo knew that these exact brands were removed from Super Mario or Super Monaco GP, and they put them in Mario Kart. They're like, "Oh, you're not going to let us have that in Monaco GP? We're going to put them in Mario Kart." Maybe it was a Sega versus Nintendo thing. I feel like it's not, because Nintendo is the most we don't care what you're doing over there company of all time, but I want to know the story behind it. There's a connection between these two games, Johnny.
It does seem awfully coincidental, doesn't it? Like, it's too close to be an accident.
Go spend $40 on the big box Mario Kart 64 from Japan, because now you know it's not just some technical, it's a Japanese game, so I want to own the Japanese version. Now you know it's actually cooler, too.
It is cooler. Look, I'm not going to tell you to buy N64 games very often, but now if you needed a reason, this is a good one.
And I'm also on board with you buying a Super Monaco GP cabinet, because
yes.
I love early Sega racing games. That whole era, this isn't an AM2 game, but AM2 is maybe my favorite developer outside of like Nintendo. And maybe some PC companies. I love all that AM2 racing stuff. So
yeah, you do. You have been a long time proponent.
Oh man, so good. I would like to transition us with an excellent transition. This is another secret that I kept from you to get your live reaction on the show. There is another controversy with Super Monaco GP.
Holy shit.
The title screen and the disqualification screen, if you don't qualify for the race, both of those have like swimsuit ladies in them, and they are direct scans of nude models from Playboy.
Whew.
Obviously done without permission. They just took these exact Playboy images and painted like a swimsuit on them to make those like, here's our sexy lady for our arcade game.
I love that.
That's excellent.
Yeah, love it.
Yeah, it would be really controversial to show a clothed version of an erotic model, right?
Well, Tyler, hold on, okay, before you dig into that one too much, because we have more on that topic later.
I was doing the transition. This was the transition. That was
well. You want to go to that one now?
I made the transition. What are you talking?
All right,
you're ruining the transition.
Yeah. Hey, now you know what it feels like to be me on every single episode. Sucks, right?
Oh my god.
This is not how we discussed the episode order going.
We said we're gonna freeball it.
We had some, like, you had your 3, I had my 3. Anyways, and we were going to go back and forth. That's how I understood. Doesn't matter. I want to talk to you now about Barbarian, the horror movie from 2021.
We don't have to make a joke about talking about something different every time we bring up a new thing to discuss. We could just say we're talking about Barbarian the Ultimate Warrior on Commodore 64.
What if I wanted to say I was talking about Death Sword?
That is the same game.
Oh.
There are people listening to this show who have heard me talk about Death Sword, which is probably I'm the only person who's ever mentioned it to them. Because who talks about Death Sword? The only reason I even know Death Sword exists, which is the American release of Barbarian the Ultimate Warrior, is because of the box art, which is just a guy with his mouth open swinging a gigantic sword. It's a photograph, and the game is called Death Sword, and it's worthless, and I think that's excellent.
So here is the key point. So Barbarian, this game was, it's from Palace Software, and it was made by Steve Brown. If you don't know who that is, he became famous over there because he made Cauldron 1 and 2. Those were his first 2 claims to fame, and they let him, this is his 3rd game, Barbarian the Ultimate Warrior. And like, this was back in the day where you didn't really use photos of real people for box art. You just had something drawn, didn't matter if it was good or bad. You just had some art made up for a game. But they had a departure here, and they were really into this was like, they wanted to capture some of that Conan the Barbarian feel, and this was, this is 1987 when...
I'm sorry, some of that Conan the Barbarian feel? They captured the Conan the Barbarian feel. It looks like a still from the movie, Johnny.
Yes, but so I'm just painting a picture of the era. This game comes out in 1987, so they're working on it before this. But this is a very heavy swords and sorcery era of time. There's just sword and sorcery movies are all over the place, and a lot of B ones, like B movies, and boobs are everywhere, Tyler. There's not a better boob genre out there, even better than horror movies at the time. It seems like we're talking about boobs a lot in this, but this is like this whole genre. As a young kid and then eventually a teenager, is like, man, swords and sorcery movies show a lot of boobs. And that's why this game gets in trouble, because they decided to use real models for this. And the first one they used, the guy on this is actually, he would go on to be in American Gladiators. He's the American Gladiator named Wolf. There's a fun fact for you if you know what American Gladiators is.
That's why he looks like Conan the fucking Barbarian, because this dude is huge.
Yeah, he's jacked and he's full of steroids and it's great. And the girl is Maria Whitaker, and she was a model who was known for her topless work, right? So she had been in some booby magazines and stuff, and they got her to pose on the cover and on the back of the box and on like some manuals, just everywhere they could put her. And even on the splash on the box, they tell you that there's a free poster with this game because they are selling you on this girl's boobs. Like, they want you to know you get to look at her, except she's completely clothed. I mean, it's scantily clothed, but she's completely covered, Tyler. The controversy is that they hired a girl who once appeared topless somewhere to be clothed. Isn't that the story they want, Tyler?
Nuts that it would be controversial to have a naked model who is clothed, and the controversy is that she's wearing clothes, which is, Johnny, where's the controversy? That's exactly what you want. You're complaining that she doesn't wear clothes over here. She's wearing clothes over here, so you're happy, right? They fixed it.
You won. No, Tyler.
In this fucking Conan the Barbarian, it's not a Conan game. It's just called Barbarian the Ultimate Warrior. But where this guy is exalting in the lamentations of their women, in that actual universe that's happening, this girl would actually be naked. But on the cover, she's in like the Leia slave outfit because it's modest. Yes. This is a modest cover for what this is actually trying to portray.
So a part of the controversy that they staple on later of it to make it seem like it's less about, they're like, also it's violent and they decapitate someone in the game. Okay, it's like a fighting game. This game gets banned in Germany. So it's just a running theme here, just like Drink if it was banned in Germany. Okay. It's like every game on this list was banned in Germany at some point. Here's the best part. This game is successful. It gets a sequel, Tyler. And do you want to know what they did? Like, they got a bunch of controversy. They had to go and change the box art. Like, you know what changing the box art involved, too? Taking the girl out and just, like, making pictures of the dude on all the boxes and, like, the greatest hits versions.
It's insane. This shirtless, super buff American gladiator. So we're not going to objectify the woman. We're just going to objectify the dude that's, like, holding a giant sword.
Here is the thing. Okay, I'm going to just go into this a little bit because this has always been very puzzling for me. Because this is also, it's like the 80s, right? So there's like this homosexual panic that is also going on, right? And so what do? They're afraid of all these young men suddenly being gay. They're not afraid of women being gay at all. They're like, sweet, we love that. Dudes being gay, though, total problem. So what do they do when the games are like showing women and like would be like advertising to these young men and influencing them into something? They're like, oh no, you got to stop that. Show them shirtless dudes instead, though, and give them joysticks, not boob controllers. Please save these young boys.
Johnny, the reason this is okay is actually in the answer. It's in the title of the game. It's The Ultimate Warrior. It's because wrestling is awesome in the late 80s. So you know what? So it's cool to look at barbarians too.
I mean, is it not confusing? Like, does that not confuse you a little bit? Am I crazy? It's very confusing.
It is hard for me to feel anything about any moral panic because they've all been wrong.
Yeah, they're just like, oh no, help us. Here, so look at these shirtless men and be as straight as possible, young boys. You're like, what? Oh, okay, guys.
Let people enjoy things, and it's going to be fine.
Yes. Anyways, to the part 2 of this game, all of this has happened, and their response, Tyler, as a company, is to double down and do it again. They bring Maria Whittaker back, advertise more posters, and make sure her boobs are even more front and center for the second game. I love it. I love that they're just like, you know what, guys? Look at these boobs. And this was a bigger panic in the UK than it was over here because the US didn't get the booby box. We only got the shirtless dude box. So, yep, this is what happened. And eventually the box art for part 2 was also changed to only have the dude. So go buy the British microcomputer version of this on whichever your favorite microcomputer is, the Amstrad, the ZX Spectrum, any of these things. Go get the booby box. And the important thing to get, because these can range from anywhere from $20 to $100. If you're going to buy this game, get it with the poster. And the poster is going to cost you extra. But make sure either one or two, if you buy either of them, which means you don't want to buy just like the weird cassette version, get the poster.
Johnny, I've got another controversial fact about this video game. Oh, I'm just hitting you with the bonus facts. I'm loving them. So this is a one-on-one fighting game. You actually play as like a dude in a bikini versus a girl in a bikini. Are your fighter options
she's up
here?
She's in the audience up above.
No, there's you could fight. Or I don't know. Look, I don't know the gameplay of this game, but you definitely fight either as or against a woman in a bikini. And Johnny, this is like the 11-year-old kid's dream. There is an actual hidden Easter egg cheat mode to enable it lets you swap the sprite of the female character to a nude sprite.
Fantastic.
What, this is 1987? 1987. They had a completely nude character in just like a popular British computer game. You know, maybe I don't understand the culture of the UK. Like, that shit would be like heads would roll over here if that was found out to be real over here.
That's the best. I love this. I love this game even more now.
Yeah. And I mean, you mentioned the decapitations, like very graphic decapitation. Like a goblin comes after you decapitate the person, kicks their head off the screen, and then drags the body out. It's cool. This game, you know, you're getting me more excited. Like, I was a little bit excited because I know this game is Death Sword, but like, yeah, this game's pretty cool.
It is cool. I told you. You were like, I started talking about it, and you're like, I'm like, this game's great. I promise. Go buy Death Sword or Barbarian. Don't buy Death Sword. Buy Barbarian.
Yeah, don't buy Death Sword. I bet they took the nude code out of Death Sword. It's lame.
Yeah, absolutely they did. Don't buy the lame one. And don't buy it in Germany because it's banned over there.
Do we have any other games banned in Germany? I'm not going to transition us into them, but I would bet we have at least one more game banned in Germany.
We do.
Oh,
have
actually, we definitely have more games banned. What am I talking about? I'm like
we
looking
do
up our
have
list.
a super banned in Germany. Would you like to talk about this game, which is far more depressing?
Johnny, let's talk about. And I know we were making fun of games like Grand Theft Auto San Andreas and Night Trap, but whatever. We're going to talk about popular games too. Wolfenstein 3D, a game that was obviously banned in Germany.
Why?
Johnny, it is a game about Nazis and Hitler, like very directly.
Oh.
Barring the Wolfenstein series, how many games are literally about Hitler?
So many. There's so many.
Are there?
There's so many games. Yeah,
Okay.
lots of them. Bionic Commando.
I mean, Bionic Commando. Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah. Every World War II game.
I mean, that doesn't count.
Yes, it does.
Unless I can
World War
kill
II
Hitler.
about?
So in Assassin's Creed 2, you literally kill the Pope. I would call that a game about the Pope. Unless I'm literally killing Hitler in every Wolfenstein game, then it doesn't count.
Okay. Well, I mean, I don't know. Like, and why would that be a controversy? That should be like the objective of a lot of games.
I mean, this is kind of the thing with controversial
This is the same
video
thing as
games,
boobs,
is that
right?
so often the controversy is that you're playing the good guy. You're killing the Nazis. Yeah, there's swastikas on the wall because we're murdering everybody that lives here. What do you want, American flags on the wall? We're just going to be murdering the Americans? No. Obviously, we're killing the Nazis.
I can't remember. In the Indiana Jones games, how does it show up?
I have no idea. The Iron Cross seems like a default for when they don't want to show a swastika, but they want to be like, by the way, he's a Nazi.
Yeah.
So,
anyways, go on. Tell me more. Tell me all the things that are going on with this, because there's a lot.
So there's a bunch. A lot of it is just related to censoring swastikas, Johnny, because the very first big box release of Wolfenstein 3D has an uncensored swastika on the back of the box. And now, Tyler, I hear you say, wait a minute, I played Wolfenstein as a kid. There's no censorship in that game. That game just, it has swastikas because you're killing Nazis. But the packaging for the game, this is probably GT Interactive who decided this, like, oh, maybe we don't want to sell something that looks like this. They're blurred out on the box, or there's some that are like on pure black that have been blacked out on the back of the box to just remove them from the game. And like the vast majority of copies are the later prints. It's actually pretty hard to even find a picture of the first print, at least the back of the box. I did a quick search. I saw someone touting to have it on Reddit, and then they didn't post the back of the box to prove it, which is like, all right. When I was looking for I don't have one of these, by the way, but I was looking for it for a while. And I remember when I was looking for this a few years ago, it was very hard for me to even find a picture to confirm it existed. But yeah, go get your Wolfenstein big box uncensored, because it's Wolfenstein 3D. It's obviously one of the most important first person shooters of all time, Johnny.
Yeah, I think that's a thing you could go buy.
So there's the censored, uncensored swastika, then censored swastika boxes, and then on the front of the box they started advertising a hint book, just a second manual that came with the game. Kind of the vast majority of Wolfenstein 3Ds you'll see are actually the version that came with the hint book, which is a later print. It's kind of not the one you want, but it's the one you're going to end up with. And then the latest version, all those came on floppies. The latest version is a CD release of the game, which is less common, but I don't know, who cares? I mean, the same thing with Doom. The rarest print of Doom is the latest print, which is the CD release 1.9. And like some people are like, oh my God, it's 1.9 is so rare. It came on a CD. I mean, all right, it's cool, but I associate that era of gaming with floppies, so I don't really care about the CD release. And it's any of these versions are like $300. If you had a first print, even maybe a print without the hint book, it'd probably be a lot more. But plus or minus $300, probably like $200 to $400. Go get a Wolfenstein. Wolfenstein is super important. I
cool.
didn't even describe the game because I cannot imagine there's a person listening to the show who doesn't know what Wolfenstein 3D is.
Yeah, I've never heard of this. What is this game again?
Yeah, John. It's almost a 3D maze game. Like, it's a first-person shooter, but it's really about zipping through 3D mazes, and the shooting just kind of happens while you're doing that. It is nothing like... I would say Wolfenstein is nothing like Doom. It is so different. I think it's still very enjoyable and plays very fast, and is still very playable and fun today. But yeah, really nothing like Doom. It's really half a maze game, half a first-person shooter.
Are you a wolf in this game?
No, you play as John Wolfenstein.
Is he a wolf?
Yes. This is it's called the furry fandom, Johnny. So there's anthropomorphic animals, and they hate Nazis.
So is this like maybe a prequel to Sola Torobo or whatever?
Oh my god. You know, there's probably so many furry games now because we can't just keep coming back to Sola Torobo. Okay. I'm cutting this. We're not talking about furries, Johnny. Let's talk about something else, which is shareware. One of the most popular shareware games of all time, probably. I mean, Doom is up there too. These games really do go hand in hand in a lot of ways. There's a lot of different shareware releases. Just because of the nature of shareware, I don't know exactly how shareware distribution worked, but it seemed like if you were just some guy who could produce a bunch of floppy disks, you were allowed to go and distribute the shareware and actually sell it. Maybe that's not how it worked. Maybe people just did that illegally. I don't know if it was legal or not, but there's a lot of different shareware releases of anything that has shareware. You'll find like it just looks like some guys like threw some disks in a plastic bag and called it a shareware release. Yeah, it's cool. I think the retail release is so much cooler, not only just because it's the full game, but I mean, like, the packaging, it's the iconic, I mean, whatever, you get the real box with it. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because of Doom. Like, we've seen in the sealed market, some people are spending like thousands and thousands of dollars, like $10,000 on a sealed Doom shareware release. And I just don't think that is the thing. I think big box Wolfenstein 3D is the thing, and especially that uncensored first print. But
I happen to agree with you.
There is a 2-in-1 shareware pack that shows up on eBay all the time. It's Doom and Wolfenstein 3D shareware. So if you want to get those in one, I'm not a bundle guy, but if I was a bundle guy, that's a pretty cool bundle.
That is a pretty cool bundle.
All right, Johnny, what do you got for me? You're going to bring something up?
Yes. So I just wanted to state the fact that in 2018, Germany did lift the ban on Nazi symbols in computer games. So they are allowed to be there. And you can show them also in movies now, as long as it's not like propaganda promoting the Nazi party. So as long as you are anti-Nazi with your depiction of Nazi symbols, then they can be shown now in Germany. That used to be a thing that didn't happen. Also, I brought up the Indiana Jones thing, one, because there's a new Indiana Jones game coming, and they do show him headbutting a Nazi in the beginning of that opening trailer, if you've seen for the new game coming out. But they did have the Iron Crosses. But back in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, the graphic adventure, you know this one? The PC game?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait, no, I'm thinking of Fate of Atlantis, I think.
Okay, well, there's the graphic adventure version of The Last Crusade, and there's also the action game, okay, that you can find. It has it does show swastikas in the game. So there's another game you could find a swastika in.
Great. Let's do a whole episode of video games with swastikas in it, Johnny. That sounds delightful.
I mean, it's controversial. Look, I'm not saying you should collect them because they have them in there, but it is in there. Like, I mean, Indiana Jones, he fights Nazis in a lot of the Indiana Jones movies. And then he didn't in one movie, and we were all very sad about that.
The Alien one, where there are no Nazis in that one?
Yep, there's no Nazis in that one. There were Russians.
Oh, I mean, in American canon, those are pretty close. You might as well be the same.
Yes, I understand, but people were upset. Anyways, I just thought that was interesting, like, because Wolfenstein is, like, this whole big thing happened, and it's known throughout all this gaming lore that, like, you have to remove all Nazi symbols, right? And then somehow, and this is not very much in the game, it was just like some background graphics where some slipped through. And I don't know if later releases had that removed or not. I didn't check, but there are images of swastikas in Indiana Jones games.
All right.
And for most other games, you were correct that they do depict the Iron Cross instead.
Johnny, speaking of Germany censoring everything, it might shock you to know this.
Germany.
The Super Nintendo version of Wolfenstein 3D is in fact censored.
Oh my God.
Can you believe it? So I don't remember what they did at the end. I think they changed Hitler at the end to just like some guy. They obviously removed the swastikas, but they removed the blood. So the development process of this game, they turned the blood green and then they're like, nah, never mind. Just remove the whole blood altogether. My favorite piece of censorship in Wolfenstein 3D on the Super Nintendo, they took out the German shepherds and replaced them with rats. That is not some violence thing. That is not like, oh, there's too much blood, it's too violent. I'm pretty sure they did that because they thought it would be distressing to shoot a dog. But a rat, who cares about rats?
It is distressing to shoot a dog. Like, I guess, did you ever see that in Call of Duty where they like release the dogs and you have to shoot a dog? You're like, oh, I don't feel good about this.
I don't know. I feel like it's such a weird trope. So like you have to like be sad. You have to like make sure the dog doesn't die in a movie, or like you're shooting people. What are you talking about? Like that game is a game of mass murder.
Look,
Every first-person shooter, you are a mass murderer, and you're gonna be like, oh, but I don't want to shoot the dogs. They don't know any better. It's just how they were raised.
You leave people's pets alone. That's like this is basic human 101. You just leave the pets alone. Like you know the history of 4chan, right? And what they did to people who were mean to cats. Like, and there's like sometimes groups of individual who would do heinous things to other humans, especially if you fucked with a cat. Like, people aren't reasonable about their pets. You can't rely on that. Right. You can't be like, well, logically, pets are less important than people. So, like, why would any be mad? No, Tyler, that does not work.
These are military attack animals, similar to like, war elephants. So, there's a little bit of a difference. I wouldn't want to shoot an elephant, but if
I don't want to shoot an elephant,
there's an army with elephants that are coming up, we're gonna throw some pigs at them to make them scared or whatever they did in the Roman Empire.
Look, I'm just saying, like, people are going to be real mad if they find out you're shooting dogs. And you seem to be pretty blasé about it, which I think we just lost 40 viewers on your blasé attitude about dogs.
I love my dog, Johnny. It's Chinese New Year today, and he was wearing like a little red Chinese New Year shirt the whole day. He was adorable. He was a little 6-pound chihuahua.
Nice.
All right. Johnny, I don't think we have to belabor this. I did write more bullet points just in case this show wasn't going to be long enough. I'm always scared the show is not going to be long enough. Is Wolfenstein 3D
what an unfounded fear. Like, maybe one time let's just let the show not be long enough and see how that works out.
Is Wolfenstein 3D cooler than Doom, Johnny? Because it is the predecessor to first-person shooters in virtually every way. Yes. I mean, it's not like the predecessor to the genre, but it is kind of the first landmark first-person shooter. Like, there are obviously ones before.
I'm going to get some hate for this, but yes, I prefer Wolfenstein. 2, I think Doom is overwrought. The idea that you're in hell and all that, I just find that overdone. It's like, I'd rather just play.
It's overdone? Okay, what other games in 1993 were
I didn't say overdone, I said overwrought.
Overwrought? Oh, someone didn't listen to Slayer when they were 16 years old.
Yes, I did.
Oh, all right, so then you do think that Doom is one of the coolest games of all time.
I think Doom is fine. But if you're asking me to pick one, I pick Wolfenstein.
All right.
And like people get all on the Doom train. I'm just like, okay. It's like, oh, he's in hell. And you're just like, why? But why? Why is that hell? It's like, why is it space? It's fine.
You ever listen to the Wolfenstein 3D music outside the game? Bet you haven't.
No. I don't. I mean,
there's more to Doom than just the idea of hell. It's pretty fucking metal. It's pretty cool.
I'm not saying that it's not metal. I'm just saying that I don't think a lot of that. I just like the fact that they called it hell is just like, okay, whatever.
We got deathmatch. Oh, Have you heard of deathmatch? It's pretty popular. One might say it's the most popular thing to do in video games. I guess Battle Royale technically isn't deathmatch, but you know what? It was 1993, so we gotta make some concessions for what's realistic.
I mean, can we just get over this and say both of these games are bullshit? Let's just go play Counter-Strike.
No, these are both insanely better than Counter-Strike.
I'm kidding.
Stop it.
Because there's always that one Counter-Strike guy. There's always the Counter-Strike guy. Anyways.
It's Counter-Strike 2 now, Johnny. You have to say Counter-Strike 2.
I'm sorry. I forgot.
Which isn't Counter-Strike, because there's Counter-Strike 1.6, and then CSGO turned into Counter-Strike 2. I think. I didn't really look into it because I don't play CSGO. But, like, what? This is... You can't just take a game that existed and change it. This is like the Overwatch to Overwatch 2 did this, right?
Yeah.
They just replaced the game with a different game. But I think it's still super popular, so I don't think they ruined it. But, man, that's confusing. Don't do that. And it's not Counter-Strike 2. You can't have Counter-Strike and then Counter-Strike Go and Counter-Strike Condition Zero and then come out and be like, oh, actually, the game that already existed, that was Counter-Strike 2. Don't worry about it. What are you talking about? All right.
Yep.
We don't
numericals. We have to do a whole episode on bad numerical sequels in video games.
Anyways. I really hate to tell you this. That's an angry video game nerd episode, and
oh boy.
I know you haven't seen it, but now I know you're not going to want to do it.
Correct.
Okay.
Unless they're collectible. Unless the badly named...
Well, I don't know. Is Final Fantasy III collectible, Johnny? You tell me.
Yes.
Well, there you go.
Anyways.
We're not doing that episode. Okay. Johnny, Castle Wolfenstein. The less revered, but it's not equally important, but also like kind of a smash hit for its time stealth game on Apple II, also ported to like Atari 400. Also a very cool game. I'm just bringing it up because Wolfenstein 3D, it kind of seems like the start of the Wolfenstein series. And there was a point in my life where I didn't realize that these games were related. I just thought that like Wolfenstein was a name of something I didn't know. But no, Wolfenstein 3D is of course the sequel to Castle Wolfenstein, which is it's like the first real stealth game, like one of the first real stealth games. I looked into the history. There's like some real bullshit. There's like a Commodore PET game in Japan from 1979 that's about stealing $ symbols from a grocery store that is technically categorized as a stealth game. Like, okay. But like Wolfenstein 3D, you like change into Nazi outfits and stuff, which is much stealth mechanics that are a little bit deeper. Also just a very cool game. The baggy version of that is first, so there's boxes of Castle Wolfenstein. You want the baggy version, and the original release was Apple II, which is the orange manual in the baggy. They are not super rare because it was a popular game, but it's like $300+ to get one of those, I think. It's all right.
Okay.
I don't know, maybe get a Castle Wolfenstein. It's a piece of history. I love the firsts. I mean, it's not the first, but it's like the first that matters. Kind of like Wolfenstein 3D is not the first-person shooter, but yeah, it's the first one that matters.
Does matter. All right. Tyler, you talked a lot about Nazis. Maybe you want to tell...
Fun fact, there's no women in Wolfenstein 3D, Johnny.
Oh. Okay.
Uh-huh.
So do you want to talk about a game that does feature women?
I don't. As much as I love being uncomfortable, my favorite movie genres are movies that make me uncomfortable. I would rather you talk about whatever this game is that I don't like.
I was gonna have you talk about Mortal Kombat.
Why would we talk about women in that? My transition would have been that the SNES version of Wolfenstein 3D is censored. Speaking of Nintendo intentionally censoring their games, let me talk about the congressional hearings on video games in 1993.
That sounds great. Why don't you?
The U.S. Senate hearing on video games in 1993, and I promise you, this is the last time we'll ever talk about it because I realize we do bring this up. It is the dumbest shit that has ever happened. I'm talking about Joe Lieberman, and this is not a political statement, but it is a bunch of Democrats up there who are like will somebody think about the children? It's Ned Flanders'
what about
wife.
the children? Yeah, it is that meme.
So they were basically they're all meeting together, coming a big old crowd of people to pretend that they're doing something about anything, and the thing they decided they need to do something about was violence in video games. There is a 50-minute highlight reel on YouTube, so it's not the entire thing. Literally watch it start to finish. It's just like a fascinating shit show of like the most out of touch adults and then the executives of the gaming company. And like you get to see like executives that you know, like Howard Phillips talking to Congress. That highlight reel is so good. Highly recommend watching it. And you'll get to see a bunch of games. And like this is like the reason anyone even knows what Night Trap is. I hate to give Night Trap, say that it doesn't really have legs to stand on its own, but it doesn't. People remember Night Trap because it was in this hearing. And the other big games were Lethal Enforcers, Street Fighter is mentioned, Street Fighter 2, and then, of course, Mortal Kombat, which is the game that basically led to the creation, like directly led to the creation of the ESRB. I mean, Mortal Kombat is a big deal forever because Sega, they put their little rating on the game. Sega rated Mortal Kombat MA13, and they were like, yo, we don't need regulation. Oh, man, government regulation. Who needs government regulation? Wouldn't we just want businesses to grow and not hamstring them with some regulations? And then Congress was like, how about we regulate you? And then all the game companies got together and made the ESRB and like, no, we can regulate ourselves. We'll do a better job. That is a 100% factually accurate account of how the ESRB came into being.
Sounds great. Sounds like it's done wonders for us.
It sure has. Children? You know what? It's kept a lot of games that are released in Japan, probably out of the American market, Johnny. Maybe we'll talk about some of that coming up. Because AO games, we basically just don't have here, which is... I mean, I'm not saying that's the worst thing in the world, but it's indicative of American values. We love Conan the Barbarian chopping heads off and having goblins kick it like a football. But the nude code in that game, that would not fly.
No, not at all.
I'm just going through my bullet points here. I love my, I wrote dick bag. Joe Lieberman was sucking Nintendo's dick. So Joe Lieberman in this congressional hearing goes off about Street Fighter 2 and he starts praising Nintendo, because they self-censored Street Fighter 2. They made a bad version of Street Fighter 2. Like they removed the blood for the Super Nintendo version. And they're over here like, well, Sega still has the blood in their game. You know, won't somebody think about the children? And look at that. We all played these games. We all grew up and we're not murdering people.
Well, as far as we know.
And then after that, there's a little section. Multiple people talk about Lethal Enforcers, a game no one has thought of in the past 30 years, even though it had a sequel.
It did.
Was it popular? See, this is the thing. This is the weird part about arcade games again. I think of Lethal Enforcers 2 when I think of arcades, because there are 2 arcades in my life that had a Lethal Enforcers 2 machine. But I imagine a lot of people have never seen a Lethal Enforcers 2 arcade machine. So it's just like, I feel like it's an important part of it. It's not an important part of an arcade. I feel like that's like a game that people have seen, but it could also just as easily be a game that people have never seen in their entire life.
Yes, I believe some of that exists. Arcades are, like we talked about this before, but arcades are also kind of regional, so there could be just whole regions that had never seen this.
I will stand by my statement that no one has thought about Lethal Enforcers in the past 30 years, but they did make kind of a big deal about it, because similar to Mortal Kombat, Lethal Enforcers has digitized graphics of real people.
Oh, no.
The Lethal Enforcers is a game where you play a cop and literally all you do is shoot the bad guys. And there's like a minor component of the game, because it's a rail shooter, where like the innocent people, they come out with their hands up and they're like, don't shoot me. And if you shoot them, you lose points. It makes you lose the game. Plus the entire game is like it has like an accuracy system and a promotion system. You get a worse score at the end of the game if you shoot civilians, and they're like, this is a game that encourages you to just shoot the innocents and pass them on by while they bleed on the floor. What are you talking about? Every motivation in this video game is to not shoot the good guys. This is the kind. This is why I swear you will not regret watching the entire 50-minute video and watching senators hold up this toy gun and be like, we're just going to give guns to kids now? What are Nerf guns? What is anything? What are you talking about? Every single kid who's played Lethal Enforcers has seen Terminator 2.
Also, just a whole... playing cops and robbers and every other, like, guns were just all over. Do you know what I got at the same time as I got my Nintendo? I got a Rambo gun set and knife. Toy guns with a grenade. It also came with grenades.
I had a toy grenade as a kid. I had a toy Rambo knife as a kid. What?
Yeah. Rambo.
They probably don't sell those anymore,
movie.
I guess. Not that I'm not one of these Gen Xers, like back in my day, like Johnny's being. But yeah, I totally remember having a toy grenade.
No, well, it's relevant because I'm the Gen X kids that they were protecting.
Yeah.
But they didn't give a shit during Rambo. They were like, oh no, hold on. Something went wrong. It must be them video games. Give me a break. And we did a whole episode on R-rated Nintendo games. Not Nintendo, like NES Nintendo games. Like Rambo. And Terminator, all these super R-rated games that are on the Nintendo, and they're just like, give those to the kids. That's fine. That's fine. No big deal. Anyways.
Johnny. All right.
It's ridiculous.
I know I've said this a lot on this podcast. Lethal Enforcers is a part of video game history because these dumbass 1993 video game hearings that ultimately led to the creation of the ESRB, it's a major moment in video game history, the controversy surrounding basically Mortal Kombat, and then these other games are kind of plus one on top of it. Every single one of those like books, like Ultimate History of Video Games is not a good book in terms of factual accuracy, but every book that goes over video game history has to include this because it's such a formative part of the video game industry as a whole, the creation of the ESRB. I mean, like literally every game you could look at now, and you could be like, oh, an ESRB logo. That reminds me of Mortal Kombat. That's what led to that little logo on the box. And Lethal Enforcers is a small part of that. And I think it's kind of cool, Johnny. And on top of that, Lethal Enforcers is like one of the biggest statements you can make on a shelf because the box for this game is freaking huge.
Doesn't matter what system you get it on either. Gigantic box.
Yeah, it's like the size of a Breath of the Wild Master Edition. It's like that size, but a little bit thinner. Because it comes with the Justifier gun, which is a huge light gun. It's pretty awesome. And so that big box, it's like $100 on Genesis or Sega CD and like $150 on Super Nintendo. It's great.
And it's not hard to find either. These are... easy to get.
I mean, the kids were probably watching C-SPAN at the time and were like, wow, that Lethal Enforcers game, check out those graphics. Those look like real people. You know, Joe Lieberman has a point. I do want to shoot some real people.
That Justifier is really sweet looking. I would love to have one of those. Especially one of them pink ones. Nothing says violence like a pink gun.
Yeah, the baby blue gun. This is just, like one of the iconic images of this is Joe Lieberman and whatever. There's another senator who sits next to him holding this giant like bubbly blue gun, this baby blue gun, and they're like, we're really gonna give this to kids? Yeah, look at it, it's a fucking baby blue gun. What are you talking about? Yes, you're gonna give that to kids.
Yeah.
All right. And yes,
ridiculous. Johnny,
the Player 2 Justifier is in fact a collectible that used to be cool, and I think no one thinks about anymore. But so Lethal Enforcers only came with the Player 1 gun, and the Player 2 gun is super cool because it's not its own controller. It is a specific Player 2 gun that plugs into the Player 1 gun with like a phone jack, like a phone cable, RJ11 I think it's called. Really weird. So you had like a dedicated little brother controller. Like you didn't have to give him the bad controller. He automatically got the pink controller, which is just the perfect color for a little brother controller. Just so good.
Just humiliate him further. Anyways, yeah, those pink justifiers have fallen off, but they're still hard to find, like in the box.
Yeah, really. So there were a couple on eBay that sold. I mean, they're all over the place because a lot of these were buy it nows. But yeah, I didn't see any of them in the box. So pink justifier in the box is still super cool for all my people out there who still care about that.
Yeah, if you still care about that. Yeah, like the pink justifier, it is all over the place. Like you might spend $100 on it. Someone might ask for $300. You just don't know.
All right, Johnny, 100. I think it would be more than 100. I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe it's fallen off that much. I have to imagine if someone has that and they know they have it, I think they're going to ask for more than $100.
So one was at open auction with the player one, and it went for $180. But now there's an auction for two of them, and someone's asking for $500.
No, are you sure those aren't Japanese?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Maybe I'm all right. I thought the ones on eBay were Japanese. Maybe I'm wrong, and these aren't rare, and who cares?
No, there's not many of them in boxes. There's still, so this was a completed auction from the very end of November, and there's a player one and a player two that sold together, and then there's one that's live right now where someone's asking for $500 for that. So, and then it's just like you don't know. That's what I mean. There not enough have sold, not enough sell right now to like really know what you're going to get. But that's it as far as like what's available for a pink justifier.
I don't even see the one that's 500.
So it's a combo auction. It's 500 or best offer. If you put Justifier Sega box, that will come up instead of Lethal Enforcers.
Oh, hey, there it is. Look at that.
Yep.
All right.
So
no one cares. I'm just going to cut this because no one cares about the pink Justifier anymore. But yeah, most of the ones that do come up for sale are Japanese. So just make sure it's Japanese. All right. Johnny, so I'm talking about Lethal Enforcers. Like everyone knows, Lethal Enforcers doesn't really matter. It is just kind of this interesting historical footnote in that it was also there when Mortal Kombat was getting completely trashed by Congress. A little bit justifiably so. Mortal Kombat's a little bit fucked up, which is why it's fantastic. Mortal Kombat, yes, the arcade version is really the version that matters, but you want it on the Sega Genesis. That's the other version that matters because it's the version with the blood and the fatalities. It's $25. I think you said up to 50, which makes sense because this game has a lot of inserts with it.
And if you, for some reason, are buying it on the Super Nintendo, you're going to spend between 50 and 150 to 200 if you get like the nicest one. Just if you're going to buy it on the Super Nintendo, make sure you get the poster.
Whatever. Don't buy it on the Super Nintendo. And the Genesis version comes with a poster too. But Mortal Kombat is currently relevant, and I feel like it's relevant for a lot of different reasons in video game history, even going to like the N64 PlayStation era, where it kind of fell off with Mortal Kombat 4. But then people still remember Sub-Zero. What is it? Sub-Zero? Is it Mortal Kombat Mythologies Sub-Zero? Is that the name of the game?
I think so.
And then there's I should have looked these up before we talk about them. There's the third-person shooter where you play as Jax.
Oh, boy. What was
Special Forces. It's Mortal Kombat Special Forces. People remember those as being some of the worst games on the PlayStation, and they kind of have some clout in bad game circles. Even though those aren't like the worst games ever, it's just kind of like, you know how bad games are. Everyone starts jerking off about the same game being the worst game ever when it's just like, it's not good for a Mortal Kombat game, so it gets labeled the worst game ever.
Got to find something to dunk on that has some clout.
So it's I feel like that gives the Mortal Kombat series relevance, and then it's still a relevant fighting series today, which is kind of incredible.
They're still making movies. Mortal Kombat's still relevant.
Considering Mortal Kombat is so 90s, it is just ridiculously 90s, but it's still they made it work today somehow.
Yeah, it's peak 90s, especially that bad video capture. Come on.
Oh my God. Yeah, even the graphics and everything. Yeah, my God.
It's peak 90s.
And you could get a $30 Sega Genesis copy, and I think you should, even if you don't collect Sega Genesis. This is one of those games. I think it's an all-timer, Johnny. I think Mortal Kombat is super good. One of those games you should just own.
Stop the presses. Tower just told you to buy a Sega
It's an
game.
all-timer. Everyone, this is our pick of the show. It's an obvious one, but it doesn't matter. I'm picking this one over Wolfenstein 3D, which is a game that I would much rather own personally. But you know what? That game's like $300. So forget that. Just go get a copy of Mortal Kombat, and you're going to be happy. Mortal Kombat sucks. I don't recommend playing Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat people will have opinions on which ones are worth playing. I'll play Mortal Kombat 2 because that's the one I played as a kid. I know a lot of people like 3. Johnny, right. Let's talk about Japan for a second. Japan kind of got Mortal Kombat 1, 2, and 3, and then nothing else, I think. It's a little bit hard to find real information on the situation with Mortal Kombat in Japan because some people say it is banned, and some people say it's not really banned. It's kind of hard to sell here. Like you could,
shadow banned.
You could like import a copy of Mortal Kombat, and like you're not gonna get arrested for like owning and playing Mortal Kombat, but like you shouldn't. We don't like sell the Japanese version, so it has to do with the 0 rating system, which is ironic because Mortal Kombat is kind of the poster child for video game rating systems. But in Japan, apparently human violence is really restricted, and like Mortal Kombat obviously has like super graphic violence of like x-rays of bones breaking and like spikes going through people's face, and they don't like that kind of stuff. So rather than censor that for the Japanese market, Mortal Kombat or Midway or whoever puts out those Mortal Kombat games now, they're just like, no, we're not going to make Japanese versions, just forget about it, whatever. So Japan just doesn't have Mortal Kombat outside of 1, 2, and 3, and it's like a little bit pricier than the dirt garbage Super Famicom game. It's like, $30 to $50 maybe.
Okay.
I just think it's kind of interesting that it's just like not a Japanese thing at all. I mean, it's obviously a super American game compared to, it's kind of rival Street Fighter, but like they don't even got the Mortal Kombat games over there.
That is kind of funny. And as we were saying, still relevant, a new Mortal Kombat movie is supposed to come out this year, Mortal Kombat 2.
Oh, man, they're calling it
But there's also a bunch of, like, Mortal Kombat Legends movies that have come out. There's like, Mortal Kombat has more movies than ever. It's crazy that they're still doing this. Anyways, we can also bring up James Wan is the producer of these movies, too. So, anyways, back to James Wan.
All right. Johnny, I do have to mention this. The actual true piece of history is a Mortal Kombat arcade machine. Mm-hmm. And it looks like they're $1,000 to $2,000. I haven't kept up with the arcade market, so I don't know how much arcade games cost anymore. Because arcade games used to be way cheaper than people actually thought they were. Like, people would list games for $3,000 on eBay, and then like in the real arcade market, it's like a $600 game. But I think the prices have shifted up towards those crazy eBay prices. But the prices on eBay for Mortal Kombat are still like out of control nonsense. People put up Mortal Kombat machines for like $4,000. You go on a Facebook group, you go on arcademuseum.com, you get a Mortal Kombat for probably $1,500 to $2,000. Someone listed one today that looks really nice screen and everything for $1,800. So it's not like the most insane $4,000 thing. So go get a real version of Mortal Kombat. I don't know. I know a guy who has Mortal Kombat 1, 2, and 3. And that seems like a good idea for him, but he also bought a stadium event, so what does he know?
I've never heard of this guy.
That's Michael Pitts of the LJN podcast, Lost Joystick Network, every sometimes on twitch.tv. There we are, shilling again.
Is it time? Is it time to move on, or do you have more to say about this?
No, that's it. I'm going to dip out and let you talk about whatever this nonsense is.
So I put this on the list for one reason, Tyler, just to show that this kind of shit is still happening. You've never heard of this game, Tyler?
I mean, I've heard of it and I've seen it before, but I've never really like looked into what it is until you just mentioned it.
Okay. Well, this was kind of news to me. And I think we've casually mentioned this series before, like, cause it comes up and it was like a Vita game and stuff. And I don't know if it was limited run, but this very specifically, we're speaking of the Xbox 360 and PS3 era version of this game, and it is Galgun. Galgun. If you
Oh, Galgun. Okay, is that like a,
Oh, yeah.
it's like a Galga sequel?
Yeah.
See, this is
Well,
what you do. You just like make up something that's not the
I
thing
know.
we're talking about every time.
I know it's my favorite thing. This is a rail shooter. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Okay.
What do you shoot,
Good.
Johnny? What are you shooting?
It can also be a dating sim. Do you want me to tell you more about that, or do you want me to tell you
Johnny,
why?
what is this game?
Okay. Well, Tyler, there's a lot to go into. I don't know where to start, and I'm gonna get the name wrong because I'm like a white dude saying Japanese versions of American words. Basijo game, right?
You said
I don't know.
Bishijo? You wouldn't say Bishojo?
Bisojo. Yeah, I told you I was going to get it wrong.
Okay.
So I led with that. Anyways, the point of this type of game, man, why does this happen? Anyways, it's a game that tells us. I need to start over.
Johnny, what's a Bishojo game?
It is a game based around interactions with attractive girls, Tyler. Can you imagine a Japanese game being like that?
Oh, attractive girls like the
it's like a
cover
booby
models of Barbarian the Ultimate Warrior.
Mm-hmm. It's basically another booby game, but it's got all kinds of weird stuff going on. So the main character is Tenzu, and he shoots his female classmates with pheromone arrows. Does that sound all right?
All right.
This
yeah.
is while
Pheromone,
you.
I mean,
this
yeah,
is
sounds
the,
like a game.
the rail shooting portion of the game. While you automatically go through a predetermined route. So you do this, and if you want to hit the girls, when the girls are hit, they receive euphoria, Tyler, and it subdues them because you're making them subdued with your euphoria shots. Each girl has a weak point in their body. And if you shoot them in just the right spot, it's called the ecstasy shot, and it subdues them immediately.
Yeah.
If you subdue enough girls, your heart gauge fills up, which enables you to go into Doki Doki mode. Okay.
You don't want to see me when I'm in Doki Doki mode.
You definitely don't want to see you when you're in Doki Doki mode. So by aiming on a girl and pressing the button during Doki Doki mode, you fill up the Doki Doki gauge. And if you do this within the time limit, by zooming in and shooting on a select part of the girl, the most sensitive part, the girl's gauge will fill up faster.
Johnny, this is a
Hold on. When the gauge is full, you can give her all the euphoria and a Doki Doki bomb, which will also subdue all the other girls on the screen. The game also has a dating sim in the story mode.
Johnny, this is a game where you shoot high school girls with what looks like a camera, and the camera can see through their clothes.
No, not a camera. It's a pheromone arrow.
Okay, the pheromone arrow thing that can also see through their clothes for some reason.
Yeah. So
This is
this is insane. It's insane. I feel like I had a stroke just talking about it.
like in this case, like this coming out in Japan makes sense. Like this is more like, I don't know, culturally appropriate. The fact that this was ported here is
it's on the
nuts.
Switch.
This is on the Nintendo Switch. The special edition, this is one of the sequels. It's called like the Horny Threesome Edition or something.
The Horny Trilogy.
The Horny Trilogy, of course. And it comes with like the sexy tentacle package, which is like a pair of pantyhose. It's like fucking
It's
ridiculous.
not even I have a problem with that because it's not even a tentacle. If you were telling me about a Japanese game and you're calling it the sexy tentacle pack, it better be a real fucking tentacle.
I mean,
Just saying.
Inside went all the way with their little flesh monster. When they gave you
Yes.
that real doll product inside their special edition, it was actually a giant ball of flesh.
Absolutely. They should have given you a real tentacle, but they gave you weird pantyhose, and that's so Japanese game. Like, what is happening here? That they're just like, here's some pantyhose. Here's your special gift for buying this edition of the game. Anyways, let me tell you what the controversy was surrounding this game, as if all of that wasn't enough. It was criticized here in the West because you were, as you mentioned, exploiting teenage girls. Imagine that here in America, they don't want to exploit teenage girls with pheromone arrows and lobbing pleasure onto them and giving them ecstasy bombs and whatever the fuck is happening in this game. It's insane. Anyways, here's the best part. Microsoft chose to censor this version on the Xbox 360. And it was because you could look up girl skirts. And this was during the era when like upskirts were being like, it was kind of like on the internet and camera phones were all like kind of coalescing. So these upskirt videos were going crazy. So it caused kind of a panic. But the PS3 version, they're like, nah, fuck it. That's fine. Completely uncensored.
Johnny, this is a game about shooting high school girls with a gun
Pheromone
that can
arrows.
see through their clothes, and
Pheromone arrows.
what we're censoring is that there's you could see up the skirts of these girls. You could see through their clothes. That's the point of the game. That's apparently the object of the game. That is apparently what is like the goal of the game. Even you might say, how is Microsoft's fix here fixing anything? Like, I think people should be able to play whatever they want. If you think this is great, like, you do you. We've been doing fucked up shit for thousands of years. Romans had gladiator games and they made it through their civilization. That lasted a while, hundreds of years. But like, if the outrage is the exploitation of these girls, just say we're not gonna approve this game for play on Xbox 360. But they couldn't do that because then they would be saying, oh, by the way, guys, Microsoft, we're the not cool company, when they were supposed to be the cool company.
I know.
With the Xbox.
So some other things to mention real quick. I agree with you. I want to get to some fun facts though. There was a sequel to this game called Galgun Double Peace, and it was released internationally. And where would you think this was banned?
I'm going to guess Germany.
It wasn't Germany. It was New Zealand.
No, okay.
And it was for the same reason, because of the upskirts again.
I realize that there are... Johnny, this game just makes me uncomfortable.
Hold on, Tyler. Are you telling me...
I'm watching the trailer for Galgun Double Peace.
You should be uncomfortable. And you should also be in private browsing mode, I hope. Save search off. Tyler.
Yes.
Part of this game is also a dating sim. And it really leads me into some questions about, should we have dating sims where you date underage girls?
Johnny, again, I don't want to be the content police here, because I feel like this game must be exclusively played by teenage boys. So
Right. So if that is your bent, you're like, well, it's a game made for teenage boys. But then again, like, I mean, it's like, I don't know what the answer here is, but my ick factor is high and I don't like it.
All right.
I don't like it, Tyler.
Very positive reviews on Steam, which is, that's really good. What is that? 86% positive reviews for the sequel. The first one's not on Steam. Apparently, Johnny, a good game.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Anyways, if you're going to buy the 360 version, you can get it for between $30 and $60. It is an import. Make sure you get the one that comes with a postcard. I don't know why it's called a postcard exactly. It doesn't look like a traditional postcard like you would think of an American postcard. It looks more like a phone card. So look for that. The PS3 has a special edition version of it that you can get for like $70. The regular is like $40. If you want this game, it's fine. There's also a version on the Vita, and then there's releases on the Switch. This game is all over the place, or you can just go play it on Steam. And, you know.
The sequel on Steam, Johnny.
Yeah.
All right, wait, Johnny, we're the Collector's Quest podcast, so I've tried to give people a reason to find some of these other games interesting to collect. Like, you should just go buy Mortal Kombat. Like, you should own that.
Yeah.
Give me a reason to buy Galgun. Why would I want this in my collection? And which version would I want? Do I want the censored one or the uncensored one?
You want the uncensored one. Buy the PS3 version, and don't spend on the special edition. Go buy the regular version, the PS3. That's the one to get.
All right, I looked up Galgun Xbox 360, and every single version is Japanese.
Yeah,
are we
all
sure
Japanese.
This game didn't just get banned? What's going on?
No, they're import. I said they're import games. But the series has made it over to America.
Wait, this game got censored in Japan? That's even crazier. I didn't realize that. I thought this was an American game. Like, that it came out in America. I mean, this is obviously not an American game.
Yeah, no. For the Xbox, it was only in Japan.
Holy that's crazier to me, right? Microsoft is going, they're pushing their American values on a Japanese game that's only coming out in Japan? That's weird.
Yeah.
Right? What? Man.
Yeah, so it did come out in North America eventually on the Switch, the censored versions. And it was released on Windows, on Steam, as you said. So you can play the original Galgun. Just about every system now.
Great.
So, well, I guess not PlayStation, and I guess it's only on Switch. I guess it didn't make it to PS4 and PS5. So here's the best part, though, Tower. I want to tell you my favorite part of this game. One, if you love rail shooters, which you and I cannot agree on the definition, but if you love a rail shooter, this is a rail shooter. So if that's part of your collection, you can go buy it. But the funniest thing in this game, and this is a button that they have a panic button, Tower. Do you know what the panic button does?
I absolutely do, because I looked this up, Johnny, and I love this. So
much.
It's called like the mom is coming button.
Mom arrived. Mom
arrived, and it quickly flashes the screen and makes it look like Final Fantasy 1. It becomes like it's not Final Fantasy 1, it's some other game, maybe Phantasy Star. But it's like your 4 8-bit sprites fighting like whatever, and it's like the characters from the game as 8-bit sprites, and it's just like a fake RPG in case mom comes in the room and you don't want things to be awkward.
Yeah, so this is a game, this is also known as the boss key. So this is a playoff of the boss key. If you know what the boss key is?
I have no idea what the boss key is.
Okay, so if you were at work and you were playing PC games on your work PC, some PC games put in this hotkey that would make it look like an Excel sheet or something else. It would just like flash your game, so you weren't playing a game. You looked like you were working, and it was called the boss key. So this is the variant of that called the mom has arrived button or the panic button.
Okay.
Which I
do know what you're talking about. I don't remember it being the boss key, but I think I remember that. Man, Johnny, do you remember there used to just be like prank programs on like Windows 95, Windows 98 era? People just make like joke programs. They were like, literally, we would just send each other .exe files. With like, can you imagine doing that today?
Oh my God.
And like one of the things I think I had on one of them was like a fake spreadsheet that would pop up to make it look like I'm working instead of like fucking around with like a fart machine or whatever I was doing when I was like 6 years old.
You know what, Tower? I miss those days. Can we go back to those?
Prank programs.
Yeah, bring them back.
Or as they should have been called, viruses.
Yeah,
because it would like invert your screen for a little bit, and then after 5 minutes, it would like bring it back and be like, your friend just pranked you. Yeah, that'd be a real convenient thing to bring back.
Yeah, like, thanks for like now. Oh my God, it would. You released a Trojan into the work computers? What are you crazy? Just. But here's a fun fact, Tyler, and this one is for you. So the first game with a boss key, Tyler, is an Apple IIc game called Bizarre. Do you know this? Bizarre?
I kind of want this. All right, hold on. Bizarre? It's not bizarre, it's bizarre.
It's bizarre. It's bizarre. Like if I was going to say it, I would say bizarre, but it's bizarre.
What? How do you spell
bizarre.
this?
Bezare.
Bezare. What?
Yeah.
That's a terrible name for a game.
Yeah. It's a 1982 game, and it's a space-themed arcade game for the Apple II.
And it has a boss key. Oh, this is a Japanese game.
It is the first game with a boss key.
You see, this is one of those things where like people think they found the first, and then someone's gonna find another one. But I like it. I've never heard of this game, but now I want it, Johnny. So
you gave me some fun facts. I wanted to have a few for you as well.
Okay, I'm sorry. This isn't a Japanese game. I was looking at a low-resolution picture of an advertisement, and it was apparently developed by aliens, and it has a bunch of the alien language, which from a distance looks a little like Japanese. This is not a Japanese game.
Okay, good. And that code is on the disc as well. It's a very strange game. You can go find it. So this is one of those games, Tyler, you're going to love this. So it's not like in a box, but it's in it's like in the flap, but that sits on a hang tab, but the whole thing is a hang tab.
Yeah.
So it's the Foldy hang tab games.
I love
and
these
game
pre-box
is not cheap.
Games. I'm super in on early computer game packaging. Just baggies and these little folders and folios. Because I love these. They're super flat. Like boxes, like they get crushed, they have their worst damage over time. There's a Bizarre, a game no one has ever heard of ever, on eBay right now. It's $300, but you know what? It's in great shape because it's just this little like cardboard folio thing. It's like the size of a softcover book. It's great.
It's about the size of that, maybe a little bit bigger. It's about twice the size of a 3.25 inch floppy. So go find that. It's a nice little trifold with a hang tab. The whole thing is the hang tab, but go find that game. It's a historic first.
Yep. You know what? If this guy lowers his price by a mere 66%, I'm going to buy this, Johnny.
All right. And that's all the game. I want to just kind of wipe away the filth of upskirts on teenagers and dating sims with teenage girls and pheromone arrows and doki doki bombs and ecstasy shots.
Thank you for bringing up that.
How did they name this and think this was okay? Like,
I believe so. We're talking about this as a controversial game. I bet it was controversial for the other reason in Japan. It was controversial that they censored it at all to the Japanese players who had to play the Xbox 360 version. Can you imagine if you had like the Xbox 360? You are one of the only believers of the Xbox 360 in freaking Japan, the land of not Xbox, and then Microsoft for this one game stretches across the Pacific and they're like, oh yeah, by the way, your weird horny game, we're just gonna make it a little less horny. Thanks. And then they leave back to America to continue to not care whatever's going on in Japan with the Xbox.
And then the audacity to name one of the next version the horny trilogy pack or whatever. So I have one more fun fact about this game that I forgot about. I wanted to bring up. So you know how it's censored on the 360, but it's done via patch, Tyler. And do you want to know what that patch is called?
What's the patch?
Panties Protect Patch.
Excellent.
So there you go.
We're Johnny, whatever this episode is, we definitely advertised Galgun to like one person who's like, man, this is the game for me. I think this is probably a more popular game. Maybe everyone already knows about this game. I'm just not super up on this.
This just isn't our type of game. Just isn't for us. But tell us how much you like Galgun. In fact, maybe I'll send you one for Christmas this year.
It's funny because I love adult games. Like, you give me stuff from like the early 80s when it was just like real garbage and pixels. Like, I'm super into that stuff. I just kind of...
This is just... It's just a little gross. It just feels like... I think, like, it was for teenagers, but it kind of feels like they knew what they were doing.
I mean, they do. It is like tongue-in-cheek. Like, it is very over the top. It is not like...
It is... But also the subject matter is like a little, it's like over the top. But I feel like that's kind of protecting it in a way that but they knew what they were doing too. Like, I just,
Johnny, this game's on Switch. How bad can it be? Come on.
Well, that version is probably not, like, who knows? The Switch is a weird system now. Like, go play it on Steam and tell me how it is.
I'm all right.
No, go.
I mean, I'm all right because I don't got time to play the stupid bullshit. I'm 150 hours in the Baldur's Gate 3, Johnny. We got.
You got 2 hours for this. If you got 150 hours for.
Yeah, you're right. All right, I'll go play Galgun. I'll tell you how it is. No, see, I can't do that because it's gonna like show up in my Steam history, and I'm gonna like if I'm spending full price in this game, I'm gonna want to beat it. They're gonna see me like, oh, hey Tyler, I saw you played 12 hours of Galgun this weekend. How was that? Have a good time, huh?
Oh my God, the jokes write themselves. The jokes write themselves. Yeah, Tyler, if you play it for 3 hours, you're definitely gonna want to beat it. Oh my God, I can't. All right,
John, do you have any other controversial video game topics to bring up?
I don't.
I can't believe how long this episode was.
This episode wasn't that long. It's like an hour and 40 minutes. We're good. We did it.
What do we call it? Ask the podcast. Let's go. All right. I'm sorry. I'm back. I've been trying to parse this question. Two Consoles Too Late asks, would you buy a graded game without a display case? So
No.
He got a Mario Kart Wii 9.88 plus NFR graded. And he's wondering if having the case is a deal breaker. And where do you recommend buying said case? I guess I don't really understand the question because when you get a game graded, the whole thing is you basically put it in a fancy display case. That's what grading is.
Yeah, that's the point of it. Because if it's available to your hands, that grade is going to degrade. So yeah, for me, that would be a deal breaker. I know you can go up to like some booths and get like some collectibles graded, like they'll give it a spot grade. But yeah, no, if I own it and I need it graded to show somebody or to like be this is the grade, then I would want them to put it in a holder and display the grade on it. If it's just my personal item and I think it's nice, then I don't give a shit and I'm not going to pay someone to tell me it's nice. I can look at it and be like, this is pretty nice. Yeah. And if you were then going to try and sell it without the case and everything, I don't think the value then holds up. Or I also wouldn't trust you to have kept it in that condition, not you personally, but just anyone on the planet. So yeah, for me, that's a deal breaker.
Johnny, I'm looking for more questions they're actually worth answering. Gallum asks, how did LJN get the NFL football license on NES? And the answer to that is that LJN got every license for everything on NES.
Yeah, they did.
Final Fight CD asks, do you believe modern games styled like 16-bit games, such as F-Zero 99, will still be released in the future? Like when these batch of developers retire, will we see these similar 16-bit-esque games being developed?
I think sprite art is something you can rely on. It's like a valid art style so I think it'll get games still. I don't know if they'll still try to capitalize on it being like 16-bit, but I think sprite-based games are something that people will still lean into.
Yeah, I really don't like this art style actually, but I think everyone does love it. I think there's some of the best looking games around. You look at a game like The Messenger, and it's like it's a super beautiful game. It looks nothing like a Super Nintendo game because it's like this 1080p, super crisp, super detailed thing, but is inspired by the 16-bit era. And the thing that gets me is that it's so inspired by Super Nintendo, but then, 16-bit Neo Geo, whatever it is, and then they go and they break all the limits. And the thing that's so interesting about sprite art to me is, or about older video game art to me, is like they had so many limits with the consoles they were dealing with in just every technical way. And you look at a game like Gimmick, where they overcame so many things compared to what was possible with like Super Mario Brothers. Like it's like completely different things, and it's just a few years apart of developers figuring out how to get around the limits of the hardware. But in this age where we could do anything, like Shovel Knight's like, we're not going to actually make this like a 4x3 piece of garbage where you can only have so many sprites on the screen. We're just going to make it look like however we want. I don't think that's a bad thing. The limitation breeding creativity is something I really love about the old console art. But yeah, this style's never going to die.
All right, we agree.
All right, that's it. Johnny, you want to do one more? Shackfish asks, should I cut off my Sega Genesis hang tabs? Yes, because then you can own more Sega Genesis games and fit more on the shelf. Cut those hang tabs off.
Nah, you don't have to cut them off. You can fold them down.
You sure can. I hate the Genesis hang tabs.
I hate them so very much. You know, I did a video once, and people lost their shit when I cut hang tabs off. Whew, they were mad.
It is really funny how many Sega Genesis hang tabs have been cut off just historically. Like, I can't put a number on it, but like you look at your collection, if you have a bunch of Sega Genesis games, a bunch of those hang tabs were cut off, not just by people who are like, man, fuck this thing. What is this thing doing on the top of my box? It is so annoying.
People
don't
really
cut off your hang tab. Go replace your Genesis boxes that have their cut hang tabs, because you definitely have some.
Yeah, good luck. Good luck, because when 1/3 of all Genesis games are missing a hang tab, you're going to cause a weird premium on hang tab boxes. And then what's going to happen is you try to replace it. There's not just one style of Genesis box. Like, there are a couple different. Now you're just going to have the wrong boxes. Don't do it.
There's a lot more than a couple. It's one of those like endless rabbit holes. Like the more you look at it, the more variants there are, and the more you realize you can't replace anything.
Well, then it's like which print run of the game do you have that which could have it's a whole dark hole. Don't do that. Let's just be fine with what you have. Be fine with what you have. All right,
Johnny, what are you buying? What are you playing?
So Tyler, I forgot to mention on the last episode, I got a game in from Limited Run Games. I know we had trashed them like right after that episode, so I didn't want to feel like I was withholding. But I did get, after over a year, like a year and like 3 or 4 months, R2 Rendering Ranger finally came to me.
What? Like that what'd you pay? Like $2,000-$3,000 for that?
No. This was the limited run version of the.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I spent like $60 or $70 or whatever it was. But guess what, Tyler? It was packed in a box where whoever packed it was a mongrel, a cur, a bad idiot. And they put that soft Super Nintendo style box in there. And then they're like, this must need packing material. So we took the hardest paper that we could find, the most rigid, basically might as well be shards of cardboard thick paper, and mush it down and put it on top of it. It doesn't quite fit, but it will if I squish it down. So I got a completely squished Nintendo box for it, and then had to reach out to Limited Run and be like, hey, you sent me a fucked up box. Can we replace that? And they're like, sure, we'll send out one immediately. It has now been 3.5 weeks with no ship date on it. And they did warn me if I don't ship the other one back in a timely fashion, they will charge me for the second one.
But they're just shipping the box?
Just like, no, I told them to ship me the
Johnny,
whole...
I've been to their events, like they have stacks of extra boxes for every game, and they sell them for like $1. What are they going to charge you, $1 for the box that you didn't ship back? What the? They're making you ship back the box or the whole game?
Yeah, the whole game.
Oh, okay.
They're going to send me a whole new game. That's fine. They could have just sent me a box. It's fine. Like, it's just. Anyways, that's a thing I bought.
What a pain in the ass, Johnny. And they shipped it in a box too. This is a company that knows they are dealing with like the pickiest assholes on the planet. Why aren't they just doing things right? They Limited Run charge, I don't know if they still do it. They charge extra if you want your thing to ship in a box rather than a bubble mailer.
Yeah. This is just like asinine bullshit. You're just like, it's like, that's the thing. It's like, I know they know. So like, but also why are they using that style packing material? Like, what the hell? Why would you use the most abrasive, thick paper to wedge on top of the box? You know, like that shit you get in the Amazon boxes where they really don't give a fuck? That's the type of paper.
I know, like the super hard paper that you're talking about. Like, you could probably like bend it the right way and turn it into a shank.
Yeah, absolutely. If you get a paper cut with this, you lose a finger. This is like... I couldn't believe it when I opened it. I'm like, are we kidding right now? God, it's like I just did an episode where I trashed Limited Run, and then it's like, obviously, this is a thing that happened. But anyways, I was excited to see it, but now it's like, I was like, I did want to play it and check it out. And I was like, but now like they're shipping me a new one. I have to like ship it back in the same condition. So it's just like, and I just like sitting around waiting, and they're like, don't worry, we'll be reaching out to you immediately. And it's like, I don't believe you because it took your customer service 4 days to answer the initial outreach. So anyways, very annoying. And then Tyler, I bought, and this isn't here yet, so fingers crossed, and that I get to talk about in the next episode too. I bought The Fireman for the Super Nintendo, the European version.
Real hidden gem, Johnny.
Yeah, real hidden gem.
No, The Fireman's cool. That's
it's a super
big Super
cool
Nintendo game.
It's kind of got like you didn't think of The Fireman. It was just like a stupid kid. It's a pretty cool game if you haven't checked it out. You know, I slowly pick up these European games, so I have all of them. But man, we'll see if this comes through. Like, I got it for a pretty good price, but I am pretty skeptical of the seller. But I did confirm like the board is probably legit and stuff. So it's like, well, we'll see.
Probably legit. That's what you like to hear when you're buying an expensive video game.
Yeah, like, look, I don't feel good about this, but it's like, well, we'll see. We'll see. Anyways, and what did I play? Not a whole lot. Not a whole lot. It's been busy for me as well. What about you, Tyler? You've been super busy, and you said you played Baldur's Gate 3. Is that it?
Yes, Johnny, but we did. We don't stop the game purchasing here. Actually, we've slowed down a lot, which is excellent.
Yeah.
I can't wait until I actually get off my butt and sell some freaking Nintendo Wii games. Johnny, do you know what a game that I both like and think is an incredible piece of history is, and somehow keeps coming up on this podcast? I keep finding a reason to slip it in here, Johnny. Wizardry, Proving Grounds of the Mad Overlord. I upgraded my early Apple II copy of the game.
Nice.
So the Apple II version of Wizardry, it is by the standards of the era, smash hit success. So it is not rare by any means. But the earliest prints of the game have a misprint on the front of the box for the copyright information. Instead of saying by Andrew Greenberg and Robert Woodhead, it says by Andrew Greenberg and Surtech Software. So Andrew Greenberg like totally shafted his partner there. But the best part about this misprint is there is a stamped, like an ink stamp on the inside of the box that has an errata notice saying that the copyright notice is incorrect. Sorry, we meant to credit Robert Woodhead. There's like this little, I love it so much. This game comes with like a gold sticker that's on the box, and my gold sticker's kind of fallen off, so I just want to upgrade my box. And I probably haven't seen one since PRGE, like 2019 was the last time I saw this, and I didn't buy it. It was my buddy there, my Apple II buddy who I talked to via email. Shout out to Ian, who doesn't listen to the show. Yeah, I don't know. I spent a long time looking for this. Johnny, I bid 4 times what I won this for the minimum bid, and I bid 4 times what the minimum bid was. I won it for like $125 because I was just like, I'm done looking for this. I just want a nice copy of Wizardry because I won't shut up about how important this game is. Anyway, I'm excited. I'm obviously excited, Johnny.
Anyways, I'm glad you have it. Oh, I forgot. You know what I bought? I bought Dead Space on the PS5. That's another thing I bought. There we go.
Is that just Dead Space? They just remade Dead Space again?
Yep.
All right.
Yeah,
You playing Dead Space again?
I was thinking about checking it out. It went on sale for like...
I got to look at the history of things like quest markers, but I feel like Dead Space has a place in history for the stupid ass point at the ground and it tells you exactly where to go thing.
Maybe. Yeah, Dead Space.
Because like you use that thing and then you're like, oh, let me go the other way so I can find the stuff.
Yeah.
It's so dumb. I hate it.
That is true. You're like, oh, the good stuff's going to be over here then. If this is where it wants me to go, all the hidden stuff's back.
Yeah.
Yep. So, I want to address something that happens in movie posters, on game covers, and just in graphics in general, Tyler.
Yeah.
Just because I'm thinking about it before we go. And just in case, well, I know there's a few graphic designers who listen to the show. All right, look, if you got 2 things that are opposing each other, right? And you, like, on movie posters, it's usually the stars, right? Like, pick whatever stars you want. Tom Cruise and Emily Blunt or whatever, right? I have a problem when they put Emily Blunt's name and then it's over the picture of Tom Cruise and then Tom Cruise's name is over the picture of Emily Blunt. I don't know why this happens.
I mean, they usually put the leading star first, right? Yeah, I hate when this happens too.
I hate this. Please don't do this. Like, this is like, it should be design ethos 101 is not to mislabel your fucking pictures, but whatever.
I mean, the problem is they probably have to put Tom Cruise before, like, Val Kilmer on whatever the new Top Gun
mirror
movie
the
is.
image. Yeah, mirror the image then. Like, just do something else.
Mirror the image, but then it's fake. Then people are going to be like, oh, did you notice that Tom Cruise's birthmark that you can normally see over here is actually here, meaning the image is mirrored? No, you graphic designer people aren't going to mirror your images. What are you talking about?
Look, man, what an amazing group of 3D artists live in the world today, and 3D artistry has never been better, and there's never been more tools. If only we had some way around this.
No, I'm pretty sure that on that movie poster with Tom Cruise, they don't Photoshop his face at all, because that would be...
weird. That would be weird, right?
They want to show his true authentic self.
Yeah, And like in all those car commercials, those are really the cars that... are on the lot that you buy. Anyways, everything's fake and it's all bullshit. So could we at least just name things right? That's all I'm asking for. It was a thing I just wanted a soapbox on.
I think you might just need to calm down and enjoy some fucked up entertainment. Whatever it might be. You know what? For me, I like a good home invasion movie or, like some torture porn, like some Martyrs, some Saw. If you like that,
all right.
You know what? Go play Modern Warfare 2. Shoot a bunch of civilians in an airport. Maybe it'll make you feel good. Maybe you want to play Galgun and see through a bunch of high school girls' clothes. But however, I just think that you need to relax and enjoy some quality controversial entertainment.
Yeah, I think you should do that. Find solace in a little bit of controversy in your life today. That's it for the show, though,
Good
Tyler.
note to end.
Yeah. You know what? Here's controversy. If you want to talk to Tyler, you can only find him on Discord. That's it. And Video Game Sage. That's it. That's the only place to find him. And me?
That seems like enough places. That's 2 places.
No. That's...
Hold on, Johnny. Calio on Discord messaged me asking for your contact info. Someone thought I was easier to find than you. So how about that?
You know what's weird? Because he also messaged me on Instagram. So I don't know, and I told him who I was on Discord. But yeah, he just wanted to talk to me over Discord. Sure. But you can find me on Instagram. You can find me on Discord. And you can find all of our wonderful patrons on Discord as well, because that's the only way to get into our Patreon. And you can join us for $2 if you just want to hang out on the Discord with all the cool peoples, or $4 if you want our After Dark episodes, or just don't do any of that and who gives a shit. Anyways, thanks so much for listening. We appreciate all of you. Hope this wasn't too controversial for you. Bye!